Welcome to the MSDW podcast. I'm Jason Gumpert, editor at msdynamicsworld.com. On this episode, I am speaking with Roohi from Inogic. She is the company's CEO and has also been a Microsoft MVP for business solutions since 2012. This episode is sponsored by Inogic, innovators of 15 preferred productivity apps for Dynamics 365 CRM, and the experts in integrating maps with D365 CRM and Dataverse. Roohi and I start by talking about the history and evolution of Inogic's flagship product, Maplytics. It's a geoanalytical solution, and as she explains, it has grown over many iterations to cover more capabilities and to suit more use cases, with some interesting parallels to the growth of Dynamics 365 and Power Platform. We also discuss her team's development of other apps that now make up the Inogic portfolio. As Roohi explains, most of them cover a relatively simple use case that aims to add efficiency and to boost productivity. And simple does not mean easy. These types of apps are often needed by any organization from small to very large. Roohi also shares her views on using Azure services strategically in product development. Working in the cloud means they have to put security and privacy first to keep the trust of customers. Okay, well, Roohi, welcome to the podcast. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me, Jason.
So I wanted to start ideally with a quick introduction about yourself and about Inogic's range of Dynamics 365 CRM apps. Can you tell us a little more?
So let's begin with, I'm the co-founder of Inogic, and I've been a Microsoft MVP for business apps since 2012. Talking about my professional growth, I was lucky enough to start my career with ERP applications. So I've had the chance to work on a couple of ERP solutions. One of them is now called Sage ERP, and the other one being Navision from Microsoft Suite of business applications. And you probably know it has also been rebranded to Business Central now. So after having been in the industry for about 5 years, when we were exploring the upcoming opportunities, coming from an ERP background where CRM used to be a module in those large systems, it was a natural choice for us to enter the CRM domain. And with my experience with Navision and being a developer at heart and the love for Microsoft technologies, Microsoft CRM was the application that we decided to go ahead with. And back then, it was version 3.0 that had just released as well. And like any business application, there were opportunities with Dynamics CRM as well, like for building generic extensions that would have mass appeal. And finally, that's what add-ons are, or the apps as we call them now. Exploring the product, working with end users, understanding their pain points, the gaps in the system is how our journey to being an ISV really started. Maplytics, back then it was called Dynamaps. That was our first add-on that later became our flagship solution that we are continuously enhancing, and we still have a couple of releases planned for it each year.
Speaking of Maplytics, can you tell us a little bit more about its history and how it became your flagship product?
We started off with Maplytics as a store locator app initially, like show nearby stores when the agents receive a call. And later, we started receiving multiple requests around not just find a store for your customers, but also when you look at it the other way around, find customers for your salespeople. So basically, radius search, looking for customers in a 5-mile radius of the starting point. Then it was also about calculating mileage and the best possible route that lets them cover maximum customers with minimum traveling cost. With routing and people on the field came rescheduled appointments and the ability to look for nearby point of interest like cafes, gas stations, and so on. Then there was cancelled appointments, so quickly look up nearby customers or prospects along the route. Once it started receiving interest from the people on the field and the sales team, management wanted dashboards for visualizations of the business KPI and health. So for the management, location and region plays an important part in their strategic planning. It is no longer one strategy works for all. Depending on the geography, the locational insights, plans vary from region to region. And yes, talking about locational insight, that is what got us to add the ability to visualize census information like demographic details, age, income, population distribution, and such other insights as overlays on your customer data so that you can gain additional insights for your data that is plotted on the map. So as you can see, Maplytics has grown organically in terms of its features, and that's how it went on to become our flagship solution. In fact, it now even has its own dedicated website, and Inogic is almost synonymous to Maplytics now.
Yeah, it's such an interesting feature set, and it's easy to imagine how it has sort of expanded in some of the ways that you just described. Can we maybe start by looking at it from a technology perspective, that technology that went into the inception of it and some of the other apps that you've developed, and maybe how that's evolved?
Now, any app that we start planning on have to pass two basic key requirements that we have set for ourselves. First being the ability to design it using supported framework and SDK made available by Microsoft. And second, it has to be an app that we can ship as a managed solution that will reside within the CRM environment without the need for any external data share. Now, all of our apps except one, InnoLink, which is a two-way integration between Intuit QuickBooks and Dynamic CRM, which makes use of Azure services. The rest all are internal to Dynamic CRM. Being on the most current technology, be it the latest scripting framework that is now available, or making use of the most recent technological capabilities introduced by Microsoft on the platform level, like say the PCF controls, has always been a deliberate choice that we have made. Talking about Maplytics and it being a geo-analytical map, we needed to have a trusted geo-service provider. And yes, there were a couple of very strong contenders for it, as we have some really large players in this space. But we decided to go ahead with Microsoft Big Maps. Lay our trust in Microsoft and the advantages of being on the same Microsoft stack. And I would say we have not been disappointed. We have never been limited by the Bing Maps API offering when planning any of our features. In fact, some of the features that Bing Maps introduced over the years were actually incorporated by us within Maplytics.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And when it comes to users or the types of organizations that can use Maplytics or that have been adopting it over the years, can you talk about those types of profiles?
Maplytics is a horizontal solution and is applicable for actually anybody that uses CRM. So often it is assumed that maps can only serve the purpose for route planning. And if we don't have people in the field, what use do we have for something like this? But that's not really true. Like I said earlier, what we have now that is being offered as part of Maplytics is something that has something for everybody actually. So if you're talking after sales service, like visualizing cases on the map, lets you immediately identify the problem regions, and then you can dig deeper to understand the problems with that region. Go ahead, plot your opportunities on the map, build territories and overlay territories, and you can see how each of your territories and sales teams are performing. You want to design a campaign that targets a certain set of your prospects and customers, go beyond the standard advanced search capabilities to identify the right target audience based on their geographical profile or even demographic profile. So you can see Maplytics works for everyone across user roles as well as across domains and industries.
Yeah, it's interesting hearing you say that, because it's a horizontal solution, but every implementation is an industry focused implementation in a sense, making it work for their particular needs. Can we talk about some of the industry use cases where you find geoanalytical data is really important? Are there particular deployments or industry profiles that you have seen?
So let me talk about a couple of interesting industries that, by default, they don't seem to be the ones that might be needing the mapping solutions, but in fact are the ones which are being the early adopters of our solution. So the medical industry, so the medical and healthcare domain, or the non-profit domain, these are ones that require the ability to respond quickly to emergencies, be able to reach at the accident site or emergency location quickly, and that is where Maplytics helped them. So let me share a couple of case studies here. We have this one customer that is in the healthcare domain, and they aim at the preservation of dental health with a particular focus on dental trauma, so like tooth replacement kind of a thing. They needed to look for potential risk points for tooth accidents and then see if they can arrange for their tooth rescue boxes right at that location, or perhaps look for some nearby dental clinics or hospitals in and around the location and engage with them to enroll them. So with Maplytics, they are able to search and plot for all risk points easily using the point of interest search feature that we have over there. So with this feature, what they can do is they can simply say search for schools or colleges. They don't basically need to provide the names of any specific, but just generally they can say search for schools or colleges, and it returns all institutions in a particular region. Now, with this plotted, they overlay the addresses of the dental clinics that they already have in their CRM database. And now, in a single view, they can easily visualize the risk points and the dentist on the same map, and then see how close the clinics are from the risk points. If they see that they are too far away, they know this is a location that they can target to onboard new healthcare institution. So this is one of the cases where it was used to identify and recruit new institutions, apart from providing them with the optimized route to get from the risk point to the closest dental clinic that they can find. So if I go ahead and just add another example over here that I can think of, this time it's a non-profit organization. A non-profit organization that serves across the globe. So they organize ambulances and helicopters to aid people in need. So what they use Maplytics for is to visualize hospitals, ground transport, and airports across the world on the map to get a complete view of the medical infrastructure that is available. They use routing feature to arrange for quick ground support by creating optimized route. Now, here when we are talking about ambulances and airports and ground transport, they time is of an essence here. So they perform search not by the standard radius search, like find customers in a 5 mile radius kind of a thing that usually one equates a radius search with, but instead here they search for ambulances that can reach the location within, say, a 10 minutes drive time. So this is something again that Maplytics supports, that is search by time, not just distance. And again, since it's a global, they operate on a global scale, they also use the heat maps that we provide to perform in-depth analysis of the cases on a map and improve communications with stakeholders and insurance companies. And if you have time, I would like to give one last example over here. That's another interesting example that I would like to share. Again, it's about a non-profit organization. And here, this organization that works with injured workers' compensation and then support their return to work initiatives by providing them light work assignments. So what they do is they record these work assignments with the location details in CRM, and then they also have a database of all the injured workers that have registered with them. Now these workers are also classified by types, that is the kind of work that they can be contacted for. So now when they receive the details of a possible work assignment, what they do is they look up the available workers within the specified distance of the work location. And since we allow for color coding of the push pins, so these workers' information, when it is plotted on the map, they are color coded by the types of work that they can do. So now, very easily using, just in a single view, it is very easy to be able to identify and connect the right injured worker to the right work assignment opportunity. So you can see Maplytics goes beyond the standard search and visualization and analytic capabilities that the standard CRM application has to offer. And each of our customers have actually experienced improved adoption after installing Maplytics, and have seen considerable growth in their ROI, not just in terms of saving time, but also winning opportunities and growing business.
All right. Well, what are your customers asking you for next, and what's in the Maplytics roadmap?
Well, for us, Maplytics is a continuous journey, and next on our list is live tracking, geo-fencing, mobile capabilities, and such other capabilities. So this has been an ask for a while, and we were actually hoping to leverage Microsoft's investment in the mobile apps to build upon that, but looks like the location tracking is still blocked with the recent release of the mobile app, and we have finally decided to go ahead and looking to build these capabilities ourselves. Apart from that, I would say our roadmap is guided by the continuous ask of our users. In fact, to give an example, we added support for truck routing as we started receiving requests for truck routes, which is different from our normal routes that are followed by cars or other small vehicles. So similarly, we have a list of interesting asks that we evaluate for each release cycle and take them on. So organic growth is how we like to do it.
Interesting. In terms of how you deploy these solutions to companies, I mean, what kind of implementation models are you using?
We have our own partner channel. Besides this app source, that also helps us sell direct. Now, our preference is partners, as the partners know their customers and what they do, and they would be able to guide them to get the most out of our apps. But if someone reaches out to us direct, our team engages with them through Teams call to understand their business, their requirements, and then suggest solutions and provide walkthroughs of how their business needs can be implemented through our apps. So again, we support both models, direct as well as through our partner channel. And again, like I said, these apps that we have, they are managed solutions. So when you can either install them direct from app source, or you can manually just import the managed solution and get going.
All right, I want to change topic a little bit and talk about, I guess, current events and specifically the pandemic and its impact. Have you perceived any changes in what your clients' needs are or their outlook as it relates to Maplytics, or maybe any of their other needs that you can serve?
So, well, here actually, I would say it happened both ways. That is, we had some existing customers reaching out to us for delaying renewals because of lockdowns and their teams not really traveling, everything going virtual. But on the other hand, we had substantial additions, especially for reasons that I spoke of earlier. That is, now they started looking at maps for going beyond just being a routing application, or a tool that helps them with planning appointments and routes, and more towards a system that aids analytics and business planning and KPIs. So yes, we have seen some drops, but then some really interesting ads as well.
All right. And I know, as you mentioned earlier, Inogic has other apps and solutions alongside Maplytics. It's become quite a range of products. Can you highlight maybe a few of those and maybe a bit of some of your decision making as an executive around when to bring in a new product or develop a new product?
Yeah, sure. With the success of Maplytics in the very early days itself, we started focusing on building horizontals that target productivity. We understood that success of any implementation depends on adoption, like providing them with a system that lets them do things efficiently, that's intuitive to use. That is really the key to success. And with that thought in mind, it led us to developing our first app in our Click to series that we have, Click to Clone. And then we followed it up with Click to Export and Click to Undo. And all of these are target user efficiency. Simple solutions that would otherwise have required spending considerable times and clicks on getting very simple things done. So, like the name suggests, click to clone, it's all about, quickly creating documents, say codes or orders, invoices, or maybe opportunities through some predefined templates that you have. So if suppose you have a quote with 100 line items, so instead of manually entering them each time, just be able to clone that template that you already have. So, and again, with click to export, it was all about quickly, a one single click way to get your reports exported to PDF and attached to an email, which would otherwise have taken, multiple clicks to get there. So, yeah, it was always about efficiency and productivity for us. Similarly, we noticed though Microsoft offers native integration with SharePoint, it did not have wide adoption. And that gave us the idea to go ahead with something like attached to Dynamics and SharePoint Security Sync that we have. Again, ease of use, intuitive interface that leverages existing CRM SharePoint integration, but adds the additional functionality to be able to sync security privileges between the two systems. So say if a user does not have access to a record in CRM, then they should not have access to the folder in SharePoint as well. And this is especially extremely important in large organizations that follow a strict hierarchy across the organization. And we have some interesting government plans on this for these solutions. And then, of course, there is always the need to lower cost, storage cost. And email attachments are always one of the biggest culprits there. So, in addition to handling the security, it also takes care of moving attachments over to SharePoint automatically, thereby reducing storage cost. And more recently, we have ventured into verticals, subscription and recurring billing management. We are an ISV ourselves with various apps being offered, different plans for each, and tracking of the pricing. Each one is priced differently, some based on named users, while others on tiered pricing or stair-step pricing. I'm sure there are many organizations using Dynamics CRM for their subscription management. And it is not really necessary that they be software subscriptions. It could be just be any type of subscription offering. They need to be on the top of SaaS metrics like ARR, MRR, ARPU, which are the important metrics for any SaaS-based organization. That's what SRBM offers. So yeah, we have a diverse portfolio of horizontals targeted towards productivity as well as verticals for specific industries. And yes, I just forgot, we also have integrations as well with external applications that are frequently used with Dynamics, like Intuit QuickBooks or say MailChimp.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite a range of different things, and they all have, a very sensible reason for why you've invested in them. Can you talk a little bit more about, well, two things that I'm thinking of. One is how you make maybe some of the criteria that you use when you decide to move forward with investing in developing an app. And second, sort of how you develop the ideas in the first place within your team. Is a lot of it coming from you directly? Do you have a team of people who are identifying these opportunities, and maybe a little bit about the selection and decision process?
Again, you said you have a diverse range of products and things like so. Diversification again was not a deliberate decision, but it just went about, quite naturally. So, working with customers, understanding their pain points. Now, we are also an SI and an offshore development partner as well. So, working on customizations, we saw similar pain points and patterns repeated across customer base. And instead of doing it over and over again for each customer as a customization request, it just made sense to package it for universal consumption across industries and regions. And package solutions offer the benefit of being maintained across product releases. So, Microsoft now follows this 6-month release cycle, which is also being delivered not at one go, but rather over a 6 months period. So it is essential to have a system that is continuously being checked for compatibility against these updates. And release packaged apps offer this benefit that helps reduce downtime for customers due to any malfunction of a customization because of an update that Microsoft released overnight or over the weekends, something. So, these have really been the factors, our experience with our practical experience with working with customers, identifying pain points, and then package solution like you is a win-win for both. And that's what led us. And that's really basically the criteria of the selection and of the ideas that we really go ahead and convert into apps.
Maybe changing gears a bit here. I wanted to get your outlook on events, conferences, what your experience has been with virtual life in a much more virtual world, and your outlook in person too.
We have always been part of leading events and conferences in the Dynamics ecosystem. So be it, I think it was Envision back in the old days, which was the flagship event for Microsoft for business applications, or even the other events driven by private user communities like Dynamics Community UG events in North America or Europe. We've always been at the forefront of being a part of these such events, especially when in person lets you connect directly with your customers and partners. And for us, with us being based out of India, it was always an opportunity for just this one-on-one connections and meetings. You can connect over calls and even video calls, they say, but when you meet someone in person, that is always different, and we have always looked forward to. Yeah, now in these past couple of years, we have not been able to participate in these events, but I guess with the borders opening up, we should be back at events starting next year. Meanwhile, yes, virtual events was the way to go, just to make sure that nothing stops us from going ahead and doing what just keeping pace with whatever it was. So again, we virtual events was a good thing to happen, so that, like I said, it does not stop this collaboration and this connection with your customers and your partners. But yeah, for if you ask me, in person is always different, and that is something that we are looking forward to, hopefully starting next year.
And looking to the future for, I guess, within Inogic itself, can you talk a little bit about what your vision is for the company, looking maybe even a little further out, maybe over the next 5 years or the next 10 years?
The vision for Inogic has always been to be the smallest, biggest company in the world. That's what we say. Yeah. So in the near future, we always want to be seen as the de facto trusted partner for Dynamics CRM and Power Platform, whether it be being the go-to shop for the next add-on that you're looking for to solve your problems, or even looking for a partner to help you get the most of your CRM implementation. So yeah, that's basically what our vision is.
You mentioned that at least one of your solutions does use sort of an Azure framework for running as a service. What is your outlook when you look at various Microsoft technologies as a platform or as an infrastructure even for your ability to use some of those technologies as you do your own R&D?
So yeah, Microsoft has always been on the top of innovations, I would say. So be it Azure or all of the new services that they have introduced now. And for us at Inogic, it has always been that when Microsoft comes out with something new, whether it is a new technology or maybe just the Power Platform supporting a new a technology that has already been there, we have always been at the forefront of exploring the ability to make optimum utilization of those services to provide the best solution that is possible for our customers. Now, one of the things that sometimes that stops us from really going ahead with really adopting those solutions is, like, I initially said that there were two criterias that we had, right? And one of the most important ones being that it should be a managed solution and data privacy. So in We've been an ISP for a while now. And one of the key things that always comes up, when we are dealing with large enterprise customers is data privacy. And so when we talk about using all of these, so while, all of these Azure services would really make implementations super easy, one of the things that stops us really from getting or making full use of these services is data privacy issues. So when I say data privacy issues is like, large enterprises do not. So if we even talk about Maplytics, again, we have seen a lot of mapping solutions that are available, which are hosted on the cloud, right? And what they do is kind of a data exchange. So you can connect with any of the CRM. They will connect with CRM, read the data, read the addresses out. So what we have seen is customers always have a concern with sharing of data. That's the reason why we have always tried to see that all the technology, and Microsoft, by the way, has been working to ensure that we can now really package all of these services that they are offering such that it can all reside within the CRM environment or within the customer tenant, such that it does not involve really data exchange out of their tenant or environment. So to that extent, we go ahead and adopt all of the new technologies that Microsoft is coming up.
Interesting. Well, Roohi, thanks so much for joining us today. It's been really great getting a chance to hear from you and about your work and even the bit of the history of the products. What's the quickest way to contact Inogic?
Drop an email at crm@inogic.com. You can even connect with us through our social media handles on Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn. And yes, go ahead, visit our website, www.inogic.com, for the details on our offerings.
All right, very good. And of course, we'll put some links and references into the show notes as well. Roohi, thank you so much for taking the time today. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me, Jason, and have a great day ahead.
This has been another episode of the MSTW podcast. My thanks to Roohi for joining me. To know more about Inogic productivity apps, visit www.inogic.com or drop them an email at crm@inogic.com. And that's it for this episode. You can reach me by email, jgumpert@msdynamicsworld.com. You can also follow us on LinkedIn or on Twitter for all of our site updates. Until next time, this is MS Dynamics World, signing off.